The point that you make of the potential captive community that hasn't yet been actively tapped, which I think you're well underway towards doing. Uh, the other part of the equation, which perhaps is to follow, is the element of investing and investing successfully. Now, you may not be coming in with the intention of making money. When you buy that work for 50,000 rupees or a lakh or 5 lakhs or 5 crores, whatever you're spending, but seeing an upside. You made the converse observation of how there's almost institutional pain involved which never goes away when you lose money on something. Now, how important to you is the element of commerce playing out successfully for someone who's buying art, irrespective of their original position? You buy because you love it, but knowing that it's gone up from 50,000 to 5 lakhs over 15, 20 years is something that everyone would welcome. So what are your thoughts on that?
Very important. Okay, great question, Arvind. Okay, I'll tell you something. So people who buy art are generally people who have financial means. So they've kind of taken care of their basic needs. They have a house, they have a car. Now they're looking at diversifying into different asset classes. Yeah.
Yes.
And they want to buy art. Now these guys, by the virtue of their position in the society, would generally be smart people. Yeah. Or people who've kind of made it. Okay. Until as they have legacy money, they've kind of earned their money and they're smart people. Yeah.
Yes.
When you do, why is the Indian contemporary art market not recovering for the last decade? The reason is exactly this. The people were sold overpriced, bad quality of works at ridiculous valuations.
Absolutely.
They've been burnt. They were made to look like fools. And that's why they will never come back into the art world.
Absolutely.
So you have driven permanent damage into the 2,000 people who are buying art, and 1,500 of those are gone. So there are only now 200 people who are buying art, or 500
Correct.
people who are buying art in this country.
Correct.
So you kind of, moved away. And that is what I said earlier. It's the customer lifetime value. How are you engaging with people on a longer term? And that is where companies like Artery need to come in. So basically also tying up with auction houses means we would love to have a conversation to say, there's so many people who talk to us and say, you know what, we've got an advisory service. If you buy art, maybe you'll have to pay 5% extra to the advisory service, but the advisory service will help you refine it too. That's a very big market, Arvind. Nobody's doing that work.
Sure.
And everybody wants to go to the top floor of the building, and the artist who's arrived at the top floor of the building saying, boss, I'm done. Now everybody else can go to hell. And that's the other point. Sometimes, and I'm no comment in saying, I've found artists to be extremely selfish. Some of them are really unselfish, but a lot of them are very selfish. Just thinking about themselves, not even thinking about the community, not even trying to do something in their own space. Although a lot of them have kind of done a lot in the space. I think what Bose and Riaz did with Kochi Banale, or what Veer is trying to do with Srinagar Banale, Kashmir Banale, when Subodh and Bharti came out to give the awards, and everybody coming onto the jury, I think it's extremely important for all those things to happen.
Yes.
But I also think that from a commerce perspective, you need to leave money on the table for the collector to make money. He may not be selling the works, but nobody wants to come out looking like a Mickey. Yeah, saying, oh shit, I bought this at 5 lakhs, now it's 2 lakhs, and I saw it in the auction at that price. That can happen because it's not a like-to-like comparison. But see how you can drive value, because then the customer stays with you for the next 40 years. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that's important too. Also, look at what happened when the art boom went out. Galleries like Bodhi, which tried to really be the forefront of contemporary art, actually finished and shut shop and actually just went away. And so did so many other galleries which just shut shop and went away.
Yes.
That is very damaging to the ecosystem when that happens. Yeah, because the ecosystem is kind of collapsing and it's anyway too small. So I think there are longer term damages that need to be healed. And that's why I'm saying younger artists need to look at the pricing. But I think the attitude is still the same. I'll sell 3 works, I'm done. So, and that is across the board. And that is across with our leading artists also. Their values are, especially in the contemporary world, are ridiculous at the higher end of the market. They don't understand it. And they're paying a price for it. Most of them, if you really look at it from a global perspective, in spite of the talent they had that I saw 10 years back, have not realized their greatness on the global stage. I think a lot of great artists in India, contemporary artists, leading contemporary artists in India, have missed being great on the global stage because of their personal biases and shortcomings. And that's a phenomenally wasted opportunity.
Absolutely. Kapil, a question that I often ask myself is, there's no crystal ball here. We're not soothsayers, but when I look at an artist, even pre-mid career, the question I ask is, what is the likelihood of this person and his or her work being part of the 100 greatest artists to come out of Asia. There were a few who I think would have qualified for that stamp of approval.
They all fell on the wayside, Arvind.
Yeah, and that's because of very, very poor decisions from a strategic perspective in an individual capacity, as well as those who were representing them. I mean, a part of the function was the time that they found themselves in. There was easy money that was, coming out of the woodwork. Between 2005, 6, 7, there was just so much money on the table that anyone could have gotten befuddled. When I look at my personal books, that was a time when I sold nothing, because nothing made sense. The observation that you have in terms of numbers and the prices being unjustifiable, even today, are very rightly sort of put in perspective. Prices of a lot of works are just not justifiable. So I think this equation really has to be rethought through. What I think is a very, very solid observation is the younger artists who are coming onto the fray, who are being guided perhaps by establishments such as yours, are being molded in the right manner. I think that
so we're
makes a
telling
very
them.
big difference.
So, there's an artist called Anni Kumari, and I think we must have sold in the last 8 months. And she does beautiful works, absolutely stunning, great hand, great everything. Runner-up in the Emerging Artist of the Year award, I think we must have sold 30 works of hers in the last
Right.
6-7 months. And but that gives her the liquidity to challenge her practice, to move her practice up. And we already told her means you should start doing international residencies so that you go and learn and you expose yourself.
Absolutely.
We kind of supported artists, Arvind. Sumantra Mukherjee, great hand again, beautiful hand. We kind of supported him to go to Holland and do a 2 months residency, come back. The only hitch was that he did not have the money to go and support himself. And we did it, and we continue to work with him closely. And I think that's the work that we need to do. But again, Arvind, we are able to do this because we are financially secure as a company.
Of course.
And as an institution. If I was not financially secure as an institution, we would not be able to help you. There are so many artists we've given advances to where the works have just come in and just lying with us or whatever. But again, we're guiding them. We're telling them, okay, maybe we need to be, why is your work not selling? Why is the medium not getting appreciated? Not to interfere with the with their intellectual intelligence as artists, but just to have a conversation, just to have a discussion. And I think we're kind of creating that forum where people can talk, artists can share, talk to us. I remember after the wall incidents, I would always tell my team at Art District 13, every 2 months open a show. Because there were galleries in Delhi who were doing one show a year, or no show in 2 years, or no space, but they would be at India Art Fair. And India Art Fair also had ridiculous policies of working with a small cohort of people and all that. So my bigger point, as an outsider has been, so I'm not a gallerist really. We work with initiatives really. And so my bigger point is so clannish, such a small world, such an insignificant contribution, people living in their own hollows. It's like I said, the last era of the Mughal Empire kind of fading away. Means I laugh sometimes and I look at it and say, means what are you guys really doing? But I think a lot of collaborative action that I've seen in the last 1 year, especially due to COVID, which I think is a step in the right direction. People need to work together. And once they work together and they bring platforms together, that's where success happens. And also, like what they've done in Ladossarai right now, with galleries coming together, or the Mumbai Gallery Weekend, are absolutely great initiative. That is what is needed in the art world. You need to create some level of excitement.
Yes.
And that excitement will draw people to come out to the art world. And I think this year, as things start opening up post-COVID, that's what we want to do. We want to get the excitement of contemporary art back. That's the whole thing. Why can't that entire street in Ladossarai be the most amazing kaleidoscope of contemporary art?
Absolutely.
200 works on the street, maybe. Why can't we do that? Shock people out of their wits and saying, look at this. And not do it from only a commercial perspective. It's not, money will come. But if artists become successful, we need to recharge this contemporary art business. Yeah,
absolutely.
During the peak, there used to be a separate contemporary art catalog. Now contemporary art is 4 works in a 80 works catalog.
Correct.
That thing has died, and that thing needs to come back. Otherwise, we'll have no contemporary artists.
Absolutely. So Kapil, I think these 2 observations are very, very strong. One, that there has to be a lot of joy and pleasure in the pursuit of art. If you go back 25, 30 years, Indian art as we understand it, modern and contemporary back then, used to occupy the final 5 to 10 pages of what was called an Indian art catalog, where the former 100 pages were all antiquity and miniatures. We have covered that journey where we've seen independent catalogs come along, then we saw independent contemporary catalogs come along, and now it's come a sort of full circle where contemporary has become a small part of a larger catalog. So, in order for any art market to thrive, contemporary needs to find its feet. We need to work towards a situation where contemporary art is as celebrated alongside the greats. I say alongside the greats because I'm deeply invested in the modern market, and I personally am a big flag bearer of that domain. But contemporary art needs to have its own footing, and I completely appreciate all that you have done over the past decade in that direction. In terms of the second observation, that of the joy and festivity involved in celebrating art, it has to come from a place of pleasure. You have to feel good about it. So I'd like to sort of round up with an observation of what happened 50 years earlier. It's post the Second World War. After the World War, where we saw so much destruction and pain and suffering, that the world's greatest art collections were built, because people realized that time waits for no one, and the unforeseen could happen in a snap. All these industrialists, all these big powerful people who were building collections started only after the World War sort of settled a bit, and they realized that we need to start living again. So coming out of the chapter that we have seen, this is sort of very interestingly, 2020 has been one of the biggest years for most art promoters. When we look at our own books, when we look at the auction turnover, so the annual turn according to Artery India data is 641 crores worth of art was sold in 2020, which very closely rivals the best year that we have clocked so far, which is 2018. 2018 saw a turnover of 704 point some odd crores. This year had a much lesser number of works that sold, but the turnover clock was nearly there. I know a number of private collections are being liquidated as we speak, and they are going to come through into sale in the private as well as auction markets. And all of this energy percolates in a very strong and significant manner, even for younger collectors.
On a personal mission that we have, we want to get at least another 500 collectors into the market. And that's what it is. New people, first time buyers. We want to get 500 of those people in.
Fantastic.
And we need to continue to drive value for them. I think that's the real key question. Because once you set a price, we want to continue to drive value for them. And I'm very happy in the space that we operate. See, even auction houses like to sell modern, because you sell a 5 crore work and you make a 20% buyer premium, it's done. Sure. When we sell a work for 25,000 rupees, we make a 20% buyer premium with 5,000 rupees. Yeah. And we have to ship the work free. So we kind of took away all the pain and we said, whatever you pay, we'll ship it free wherever you are in India. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Whether it's a sculpture, whether it's frame, whatever it is. Yeah. So simple things. But I think the personal mission is to get 500 more people. The personal mission is to get on the emerging artist, which did not happen last year, again started, get it on the jury again. And also to get more people interested in contemporary art. I think that's the key. So I love what you guys have done at Quorum in terms of taking over a public space. It's viewed by so many people and everything. I think that's really important. I think those kind of interventions need to happen more and more. Also, from an art world, what I really like about the fact is that it's become very collaborative.
Yes.
The other thing I really liked is I love the new management at the India Art Fair and the kind of fair they're producing in terms of the quality of the fair, in terms of just the entire F&B, the fair, and how it all comes together.
Sure.
So I think they're doing a phenomenal job in the newer management in terms of producing a high quality fair. Although I don't know if it's really profitable for them to produce or not to produce. And they also need to get rid of their old affiliations and say this gallery needs to be here, this gallery needs to be here, because that's the way it's got to be. At the end of the day, nobody cares really. Finally, people have to embrace the new, but the art world is very cliched, if I may say so. But like we are, I like to think of ourselves as outsiders. So even in these two collaborative efforts in the art world, we are not in any one of those, not because we didn't want to, but nobody called us. So which is great too, because I think we've kind of built our own definitive direction in the art world. Sure. And I think the number of artworks that we sold over a particular price point is more than the number of artworks sold in this country by all galleries put together. Sure. At our level. So I think if you're already doing that in terms of quantum, that we've sold more than all of them, then we need to be leading in terms of initiative. We have like with the form, there are going to be another 2, 3 very key initiatives that are going to be rolled out. And you will always see very highly disruptive ideas on pushing the boundaries of contemporary art and pushing the boundaries of contemporary art with younger artists. Okay.
Sure.
So that's the whole idea that we have for 2021.
Fantastic.
For the overall contemporary market to recover, I'd say the earliest that the contemporary market can recover, even with whatever is happening in the market, artists need to change the way they're looking at. They need to start exhibiting more. I want to see more of Indian top artists exhibiting all over the world again. I think it's going to be not before 2025, and 2025 if we get lucky.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what I think.
Sure. Kapil, I share that sentiment. I think this game has to be considered as a long haul. There are no shortcuts here. And in terms of building an internationally sound program, a decade is a window. The runway has to be long enough where you're creating stability and you're making sure that the support comes from long-term patrons. One very important point that you made was that of consistent and constant support, which comes only when you're respectful of the people who form your collector base. It's only when you go beyond just the pure transactional. That's been one of my very big learnings. Having sort of built whatever I have managed over the past 17, 18 years by way of only about a dozen relationships, it's because we only have repeats. That is the only way that I think a business can really be built with steadiness. And if these 500 people are to come in, I mean, globally, the art markets are driven by maybe about 600 individuals. If in India we're able to even bring half that number forward, I think we'll see something truly transformative. You and I need to have a conversation and see how we can possibly work together.
Yes, yeah, we should, and maybe you should have a contemporary art programs too, because it's the right time. Actually, it's really the right time to start initiating people in. You see, the problem with the modern market that I see personally is to initiate a guy into buying a Hussain for 2 crores is a bit tough. Yeah. But I remember, Arvind, I don't know, Arvind, do you remember the first work I bought from you when you were at Bodhi?
The NS Harsha.
Exactly. Yeah. So I still have that work with me, and it's hung on my living. It's hung in my living room, and I would go and buy another NS Harsha work. And since that day, I've been a very big fan of NS Harsha.
Right.
And actually, this time at Kimold, I think there was a beautiful NS Harsha, and all compliments to Shireen, and she priced it very competitively too.
Right.
It was just under 1 crore, but it was a very, very big work. But it was very, very competitively priced, I thought. And it was an amazing work. And I nearly, in my own head, I was running numbers on what I could sell to buy that work. Okay. What happens with collectors normally. But again, but I think, so I think you really need to do something in the contemporary space too. Or even just simple things like being on an auction helpline, Arvind, to be saying that you can call our knowledge partner Artery if you need any help.
Sure. Kapil, you are a repository of great ideas. We're going to take this conversation offline. We'll discuss what we possibly can do together. But I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Arvind. It's a pleasure.
Shared. They're going to be of tremendous value to those who really pick them up. So thank you once again, and all the very best.
Thank you, Arvind.
Thank you. All that's ahead. Congratulations on all your success, and
thank you, Arvind. You take care. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thanks. Take care. Bye.